Hey guys, welcome to another driving test video at Hither Green Driving Test Center on Friday, the 8th of December 2023. This test was a fail with 2 serious faults and 6 driving faults. So, first serious fault was at Junctions observations, and this was actually at the roundabout. So one was Yorkshire Grey roundabout driving towards Clifton's roundabout, and the second one was at Clifton's roundabout. So look out, and later on ahead you would see where these faults occurred. So keep this in mind. Practice well at both roundabouts. For some reason, I believe Yorkshire Grey can be more tricky, especially if you're taking the fourth exit and than Clifton's. But somehow a lot of people tend to actually worry more about Clifton's roundabout. Now I assume probably that might be because of the speed, because that road is 40, so people tend to come very fast. So if you're not making your decision and taking action immediately, you might just have problem getting through Clifton's roundabout if you hesitate a lot. So but anyways, let's get to the video. So they're out on the road now, and so far so good. Everything is going well. So the time for the test is 1:35 p.m. in the afternoon, and I'd like to let you know or remind you that because of the new speed change at Hither Green, or should I say in Lewisham, where most of the roads are now mostly 20 miles an hour. So I'd say about 90% of the driving test routes are actually now about 20 miles an hour. And because of this, I can sort of be more likely sure than not that if you have tests at this time, so if your test is within the very low traffic time, 1:35, 10 something, 11, 12, if it's not rush hour, let's put it that way, you're kind of more likely to go through Clifton's roundabout. And this is because during the rush hour, they would normally avoid the busy areas. So Clifton's roundabout will probably be avoided. So that would not be something, unless if traffic is good during your test. But because the roads are now mostly 20, when it is not busy, examiners at this point are more likely to take you towards Clifton's, because that's more like the only few places where you can drive above 20 miles an hour. Because trust me, testing someone on a 20-mile road is not really testing. It's not good if you ask me, because you're not a driver if all you can do is drive on 20 and less. So hence why prepare yourself to be going through the A2, which is 50 miles an hour, or Clifton's, which is Western Avenue, and that's 40. So have this in mind. Prepare on Clifton's roundabout, prepare through that A2, prepare for Yorkshire Grey roundabout. So right here was the first pull up on the left exercise, and here I believe she would have been given one minor fault for positioning normal stop. But bear in mind that if this road was actually smaller than this, then this could have easily become a serious fault, because if the road was much smaller, then that means that she would have been taking up much more space on the main road, which then affects the cars that are passing on the road while she's parked there. So keep this in mind. That's where you might have a situation where someone gets a minor fault, like in this case, and then you go on another road and do the same thing, and then you get a serious fault, just because the effect you're having with the way you're positioned on that road, or the way you're positioned on that road, is having a greater effect on other road users. So at this point, they are coming to do the pull up on the right exercise, in which you will be reversing 2 car length. Now, bear in mind that if you're doing this, luckily you will not be doing any maneuver because this is part of your maneuver. Now, one thing that happened at this point, which I like to point out, is how you deal with pedestrians on the pavement when you're doing your reverse maneuver. Now, it can be controversial at times. Some might say, wait when you see anyone approaching towards your car from the back on the pavement, whereby in some cases, some would say to continue. Now, what you have to pay attention to is one, the width of the pavement. How big is the pavement? And number two is the position of the pedestrians walking on that pavement. And the third thing you have to keep in mind is what kind of pedestrian is walking towards you on the pavement. Are they a vulnerable person? Are they someone who is aware of what you're doing and hence keeping away from the edge of the pavement? So these are things you've got to keep in mind. Now, in this situation, if we look on the exterior right camera or even from the rear camera right now, you can see two parents coming with a buggy. Now, they are actually far away from the edge of the pavement, which means at this point, as long as you keep your attention at what they're doing, you can continue because they're clearly not an issue. But in a different situation, if this was to have been some school kids running elter and skater, and they kind of like you can't predict yet what they might do next, and they're walking close to the edge of the car. But even if they're not walking on the edge of the car, but they're kids, they're running around, then at that point you might want to hold up and wait for them. Another thing I tend to also advise is if these are old people, again, sometimes they do get panicked with the movement of the car close to them and all of that. So you've got to keep these things in mind. So relax so that you can make the best decision. And whatever you do at situations like this, I tend to advise you to speak out so that the examiner can know what you're thinking. So you're bringing them into your world. You're trying to explain to them what you're doing without necessarily expecting them to respond, but you're just feeding them in and carrying them along with you. So that is very important. Commentary driving. This is where it can help you a lot so that your examiner as well is not actually worried about you moving and thinking, is she or is he aware of the pedestrians? So yeah, something like, okay, I can see the pedestrians behind me, but they're quite away from the edge of the pavement. So I'd continue with caution, and something like that. No matter how you say, just make sure you explain what you're doing. It doesn't matter if you word it. You don't have to word it the way I do. It's not to cram anything. Just explain in your own word what you're doing and why you're continuing. As you do it, you don't stop and start explaining. No, just do it, and as you do it, continue and explain through it. So just comment through it and you'll be fine. So yeah, but remember the most important part is making sure you're making the right decision though. So stay calm and you'll be okay. I hope. And here at this point, they're coming to pull up on the left yet again. And at this time, she pulled up again far from the pavement. But I believe that the examiner did not actually give the minor fault here. considering the fact that in my assumption, he could not judge clearly from the pavement because of the pool of water there. Now, I say this because there's only two minor faults for positioning while stopping, which is normal stop. And this happened again later on. So hence why I'm saying this was ignored. And you would notice that because of this, which is very common, examiners tend to do this. If they make you do something and they're not sure, like not sure as in, like they're not able to make a decision, maybe because there was something obstructing you or there was something that hindered you from doing what you should have done properly, and they couldn't really give a fair judgment, they might just make you do it again in the next few seconds. And that's literally what happened here. Keep in mind, again, I say in my assumption. So here they're coming to do that, pulling up on the left again in a better situation. So, and as you would see here, she comes up here again, pull up on the left, and with a lot of gap again away from the pavement. Hence why I now put that second minor fault at this point. So second pull up on the left, normal stop, or second position, normal stop fault. So that's the second minor fault for positioning, normal stop. Keep in mind that if you're trying to join a road in heavy traffic and you're staying far from the junction, you would most likely not get someone give you way to join. So make sure you go as close as possible to the junction and then make eye contact with drivers on the road. And that way, they're more likely to give you way. So keep this in mind. And at the traffic light ahead, the lane changes into 3-lane. Now, keep in mind that if you're going straight ahead, you need to filter yourself at this point with the line into the middle lane, which continues straight ahead. Do not use the left lane to continue straight. I repeat, don't use the left lane to continue straight, because that floor marking clearly says that that lane is for turning left only. And if you use that to continue straight, it would be a serious fault, because you're going to be affecting those who are in the middle lane using the correct lane to go straight. So keep this in mind. If you've been paying attention to the road signs, you would notice that the speed has actually changed from earlier on after that traffic light we had just passed, and it's now 40 miles an hour. And up till this point, the learner is still not able to go even over 30 miles an hour on the speed. So hence that brings us to the third minor fault. So that would have been appropriate speed, which is progress. So if you get fault for progress, appropriate speed, this is the reason. And this is what many would refer to as you're driving too slow. But it is very, very, it can be misleading to say driving slow, because then you'd want to then put yourself in a situation whereby you're driving too fast. But the right thing is to say at this point is you're actually not making progress. So make it nice, nice word for it. So yeah, appropriate speed, progress. So you're not making enough progress, even though it is safe to actually progress. It is safe enough to, add on a little bit of extra speed. Maybe at that point, another 5 miles an hour on top of what she was doing would have been good enough for the road conditions. So maybe 35 miles an hour would have been okay here. So yep, keep that in mind. That was our third minor fault there. So here is another pulling up on the left exercise, and this time around she seemed to have improved on that space, so hence why we don't have a minor fault for normal stop here. So yep, better job this time around. Unfortunately, something went wrong with the roof camera, which is what is tracking our speed and location. So sadly, from this point, we're not going to be having the speed displayed, and we're not going to have the map. But if you wish to see the speed, then look at the bottom of the rear camera, and that way you can see the speed if you want to know what the speed she's driving at. Here again is another junction that you need to understand how to deal with. Now, at places or points like this, when that bus lane is empty and there's no bus or other road users using that lane, and your right lane for other coming vehicles is clear, which is obviously not buses in the other lane, which in this case may be the middle lane, then make progress onto the bus lane and then wait for traffic coming from your left at that point for someone to give you way. Don't sit all the way at the junction expecting someone to give you way. That way you're not putting yourself in a prepared position to move on, and because of that, most drivers would not even wait for you. Most of it, remember, you might just meet one Jesus Christ that might stop, but most of the times other drivers would expect you to make your way out of that junction and then wait on in the middle of the road, and then that way someone's more likely to give you way. So keep that in mind. But remember, only do this if there are no oncoming vehicles from your right and the bus lane is clear. Don't forget oncoming vehicles, I said, but this also includes motorcycles and bicycles. And again, it could also be someone, running in the middle of the road using the bus lane on their roller skating or their roller skates or their skateboards. So keep this in mind. Hence why I'd say other road users. And I almost forgot, you can also do this actually when there is oncoming vehicle from your right, but the gap is safe enough that you would have been able to get through the road before they get there. So you see a wide gap ahead, but there's a car coming through, but you know that you can slip into that position and then get through from get into that position, and then the last car from your left is coming through and you're able to go on with that car before the one coming from your right gets there. So I mean, this is something to practice with your instructor, and yeah, it'll be easy. So here is Yorkshire Grey roundabout, and they are taking the 4th exit. So your examiner might actually not tell you get to the roundabout and take the 4th exit. They might just tell you to follow the signs, and yeah, follow the signs to Catford. while going through the roundabout now, we're coming through the first exit, and as she passes the second exit, preparing to move back to the left lane, you would see here there was a motorbike on the left, and she checked the mirror and saw the motorbike, which is why the examiner was concerned about why she still went through. So she changed lane here, as you can see, and that actually got that cyclist or motorcyclist pissed off, hence why he reacted as he passed by. And right there was a serious fault. And I'll just remind you what the examiner said, because a lot of people tend to think, because of the way the lines are created at this roundabout, which is why I say this roundabout is more complicated than Clifton's. The examiner said you could have just exited using that right lane, since that cyclist, or sorry, motorcyclist, was in the left lane. But she decided to cut him off in the attempt to make sure she do not miss the exit. So keep in mind, when you have that situation, just make sure you put your signal onto the left and continue straight in the in the right lane to exit. That just makes it more clear for the drivers on your right who are waiting at McDonald's to know that you are exiting. So keep it in mind. If it's not safe to exit in the left lane, then continue to exit in the right. So here we are coming to get the second serious fault. So let's watch it. So there we go. As usual, Clifton's roundabout, things are happening fast. Now, if you don't position well, you're going to have situations like this where the vehicles on your right are actually blocking you. So make sure you look forward, get to the line. That's why your line is always much further than those on the right, so that they're not blocking you. But sometimes drivers like this will come over that line and block you. If they block you, don't go with them, please. Wait until you can see, because these guys are going to move faster than you right here. And there you go. Wrong move. So that right there was a serious fault. And another chance came to now leave that way, and she still hung on there and then decided to go when it's not even safe. So yeah, that was the second serious fault. That was bad. And as you can see, with the two roundabouts going wrong, obviously the speed she's doing at the moment is not going to be the first thing on her mind right now. So as you would see here, speed limit is 40 miles an hour, and we are currently driving at just about 25 miles an hour. But there was no fault given here, which again brings me to the fact that to the point that, you know, examiners are very considerate. So of course he's aware of all those problems and flaws and fails that had happened at the roundabout. So understandably, he knows she would at this point be nervous, worried and all that. So examiner gives no fault for the speed here. So yeah, kudos to the examiner for being, you know, human and considerate of what just happened or what had just happened. So yeah, that was it. So keep this in mind. I keep saying this, please, when you keep waiting and waiting and waiting at the roundabout and you haven't found a safe opportunity, or you have hesitated and missed a couple of opportunities, that could have maybe just been a minor fault so far. The worst thing you want to do now is put yourself to go along with people who are going to leave as much faster than you would, leaving you naked inside the roundabout. And that's exactly what happened here. So if you're going to take such risks, make sure you're actually able to get on that gas, move along with the traffic. If you move gently and you start looking over your shoulder again when you've crossed that line, Clifton's roundabout, you are more likely you will be caught up. And this is the problem at Clifton's. You can't be thinking twice again once you've crossed that line. You've got to get through it. Run as fast as you can. But of course, make sure you have control of the car. But yes, please keep your eyes forward. Keep in your lane. Get on that gas and go. If you can't do that, then just wait. You're better off doing that. At least you still have some chance. You never know. It might just be a minor fault for hesitation. But don't push yourself into the lion's den. So, yep. Now, as you cross the light here, remember again that the lane or the layout of the road changes into 3 lanes. 3 lanes. Now, if you're going straight, you've got to, again, merge into the middle lane. But remember, pay attention to cars on your right. As you can see right here, many of them goes straight into the middle lane, which is actually your lane. So you got to be aware of this so that you know how you're going to deal with them. If you're going to move off and go as fast and as quick and safe as you can, or if you're going to ease off your speed and go after them, you've got to plan this. But if you're not paying attention to them, you don't know how they're moving, then you're not able to plan for that situation. So keep that in mind when you're going through those traffic light on both directions, whether you're heading towards Cliftons or you're heading from Cliftons, as in this case. So yeah, and when you're approaching on this road, you're most likely going to be turning right after the bridge. And if the examiner tells you you'll be turning right after the bridge, then please remember there's no point going into the left lane. Just remain in the right lane here so that you can then continue to turn right. Otherwise, if you come into the left lane, you might struggle to come back to the right lane later on, because sometimes the road can be busy, or maybe you might not even be very good at changing lanes, you know, checking your mirror, which I hope you are, because it is a very vital part of your driving. So yeah, work on that if you need to, but yes, remain in the right lane and then you turn right at this traffic light. So we are now very close to the test center, so coming towards the end of the test. So we have seen the 3 minor faults so far, and there's 3 others, which one of them was a vehicle check. That would be the show me question while on the move. And there was another 2 minor faults, which are signals when necessary. Now, one of them the examiner mentioned, and this is something that I do mention to learners a lot, that you could fail for your signal just because you didn't put it on when you needed to. But in this case, she got a minor fault and she was turning right and she did not signal right, and she was coming to a junction where luckily there was no other road user, no other car at that road she was turning into who maybe is planning to turn right. Because when you're turning right into a road, remember, so into a side road, if there's another car on that side road who wants to come into the main road but turning right, if they see you approaching and they want to turn right and they think you're going straight and their right is clear, remember, just like exactly what I said earlier on I can't remember what road it was, but I think it was on Hunt Park Lane coming out onto the main road. I did mention that if the bus lane was clear and all of that, and there's obviously no cars approaching from your left to turn into the road that you're on, then you can actually proceed out into the first section. So imagine when a car is coming to turn into the road you're on at that point and they don't signal right, that makes you think they're going straight, and you could just start pulling out to go into the middle of the road, because of course you are assuming that the car coming from your left is going straight, and this is what the problem is. So when you don't signal, in this case, your lack of signal misleads other road users, and that was what the examiner pointed out. And he said clearly, if there was a car at that junction who was waiting to turn right, I would have given you a serious thought, because you have to consider the fact that what if that driver starts to pull out into the road because they assume you're going straight? So this is the situation, and this is where I often say luck comes in. If you're lucky enough, there will be no car there. But if you're not lucky, there would be a car there, and then that becomes a different story. So keep this in mind, guys. This is it for this test, and I hope you find it useful. Don't forget, please, please, please leave a like, leave a comment if you've got any question. I'll respond to them. And if you've not subscribed to the channel yet, please, please, pretty please, subscribe to the channel. Your likes, your subscriptions, your comment all help the channel grow. I'll see you in the next video. Merry Christmas to you in advance. Have a lovely Christmas, and if you have your test this December, I hope that you smash it and pass. And if you don't worry, not the end of the year, not the end of the world. Get yourself better, prepare, go through it again. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay blessed. Peace.